most of the accusations that's being made, I was long gone.
I know, but you would know the character of the guy.
The character that he possessed within the time frame that I was around does not constitute any of the allegations that's being made about him today. Everyone in this business has their share of the things, the accolades that come with the business. See, I think people look at Hollywood as an institution that facilitates these things. No, Hollywood just brings these things to where they're accessible. You have some celebrities that don't go near this stuff. You look at the majority who indulge in it, people start to just assume that it's a cult, it's a club, is it this, is it that. But ain't nothing happening to the people that abstain from it. Life is about choices. What I will say is, being an African American or Hispanic, whether you black or brown and you in that business, the scrutiny is magnified if you get caught. You become the recipient of all of the people who got away.
You were with Puff during J-Lo's relationship, right?
No one ever heard about J-Lo getting beat up, kicked around, whatever the case may be. But it's not to justify no one's behavior. I'm just being honest.
Chance, Loon, or Amir? What do you like me to start calling you today?
You the first to ever, use my government name. Not something I'm ashamed of. But that is the foundation of who I am as a person. I started off in Harlem, as Chauncey Hawkins. Moved to California.
At what age?
13, like 12 and a half, 13. That's where I acquired the name Loon. And then, fast forward 2008, became Muslim.
Amir.
And I acquired the name Amir Junaid Muhadith.
Today, if you look back to your childhood, if you look back to Chancey, guy that was growing in Harlem and then went to California, would he ever imagined to become Amir today?
No, not at all. The thing is, growing up in Harlem, we had very limited options. So what was foreseeable was either sports, entertainment, or life in the streets.
What year was that?
80s.
80s.
Yeah, the
right?
80s.
So you had few options in Harlem in the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those options were always limited. Just being African American in any ghetto in America. So it wasn't limited to just Harlem. But as far as my experience, growing up and the limitations or the limited scope of opportunity was either you would pursue a career in sports, which there's 1 million people in New York that play basketball.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? You make it in entertainment. There's 1 million people in New York trying to make it in entertainment. Or life in the streets.
Mm.
There's over 1 million people in New York that indulge in life in the streets.
Do they choose it or it chooses them?
It goes both ways. I mean, some people it's circumstantial. Some people's a choice. For myself, I think it was a little bit of both. Because, my grandparents, they were considered model citizens and pillars of Harlem. My grandmother was a beautician. She had a trade that was definitely something that was a necessity in the community.
Nice.
That the women get their hair done, right? My grandfather, he was in the military. He fought in World War II. And he was a Renaissance man. Like he was a man's man. Like, he was someone that was looked up to for his fashion sense. He was a avid gambler, but not a degenerate. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't the type of guy that he won way more than he lost, And he just was the ultimate provider. My grandmother was the ultimate nurturer and cultivator. So there was a dynamic team. And my grandfather was very close, with Bumpy Johnson. My mother and my father, they grew up, I mean, they were partners with Leroy Nicky Barnes. And then me, I grew up in the era, if you ever seen the movie Paid in Full with Rich and Alpo and AZ, and these guys were, LA, Fritz. There was a lot of, the list goes on. This is generations of being exposed to the individuals who contributed to organized crime in New York City, preferably in Harlem. So now with that exposure, that becomes something that ultimately drives you in a direction.
Yes, it's like, this is the life that I'm living.
Yeah.
This is what I'm supposed to be. And I have to look up for myself.
Exactly. And that's the circumstance.
Yes.
The choice is, if you have options, like I did. I was raised by my grandparents. My parents didn't raise me.
I was going to tell you, like, keep talking about your grandparents and your
they raised me.
But
and this was something that was normal. You know what I'm saying? Most parents in my generation were having children while they were young, and then they were just dropped off to the grandparents.
Okay.
And the grandparents, they came from a certain moral, quality that, acted as the centerpiece of every Black family in New York, because most of our grandparents migrated from the South.
Okay.
So they had this kind of Southern culture.
And your grandfather was in the military too. So
he was. He wasn't hard, but he definitely wasn't soft, So he had a very fine balance of how a man should conduct himself. And he instilled that in me, and he taught me a lot of things that shaped me to be a man who was, one, cognizant and aware of my surroundings, the environment I lived in, and then he made me a student of people. You know what I'm saying? Because some people don't really pay that much attention to people, and I think learning and understanding some of the commonalities that people share, it becomes a little bit more easier to identify with the uniqueness that
this
people
becomes
share.
Important.
Yeah, it becomes very important.
So did you go to church when you were young?
Absolutely. My grandmother, she was a devout Christian. And because I love my grandmother so much, I inherited her love for Christianity. I inherited her love for the church and all of the activities that the church offers. So, for example, I was in the Cub Scouts. I played the piano. I played the bells. I was in Bible study.
You're a full Christian.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
What do you think she would think today of Amir?
My grandmother, rahimahullah, she accepted Islam before she passed away. So my grandmother was aware of me reverting to Islam. Oh. So to answer your question, she loved the person that I became. She loved Amir, and she was able to see Amir before she returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
There's something that we need to talk about.
Okay.
The shift from Chansey to Loon.
Mm-hmm.
And when did that happen? You said that you were 13 when it happened?
Yeah. So
why? And why? How did you go into this?
Man. So Chauncey was a very troubled soul, but I was sustained by the love of my grandparents. But the emptiness and the confusion that came with being a young kid trying to figure out why my parents chose not to be responsible for me, Now, mind you, I always had a relationship with my mother, and as I got older, she became more of my sister, like my sister, than my mother. My grandmother was my mother,
Wow.
So I had a lot of behavior issues because the things I was feeling, I didn't know how to articulate, but I was a straight A student, So every school I went to, I got kicked out or suspended, expelled. Like, I had a lot of problems, trying to channel the frustration and emotions that were, festering inside of me But my grandmother, she just remained firm and extremely supportive, because the best side of me was the academia. She knew that I was intelligent. She knew that I was consistent and, scoring high academically. But when it came to my temper, it was something that was unhinged to a degree where it became extremely frightening, to, staff in school. Even some of the teachers felt like, their life might be in somewhat jeopardy, or just their being could potentially, you know, suffer some form of harm. Because there was times I would just snap, throw chairs, everything, like, because there was something missing. And it took a lot of years of my life to figure out what that missing thing was. So this was consistent with my life growing up in
So
Harlem.
what was missing?
My parents.
So
my parents, and then understanding, one, why they wasn't around. A lot of times I wondered where they were, and I knew that my mother, she was a legend in the streets. So was my father. People always, spoke highly of them, revered them. But just like a lot of people in the 70s, they fell victim to drugs. The 70s was heroin. I grew up in the crack era. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So this repetitive, bombardment of drugs being, spilled into our communities, we never understood anything other than that. So we started to normalize this stuff. It was normal for, kids like myself not to have their parents. It was normal, for us to have a mother or a father who fell victim to drugs, who may prior to that might have been some of the most, prolific and, wealthiest guys in the, in the drug trade in the 70s. But when crack came, it destroyed these people, So there was still a level of respect and prestige that came with whatever our parents may have done in their prime. But we had to deal with all of the broken pieces that came afterwards.
Did you have peace with this? Did you talk to them? Did you have the chance to tell them about your feelings?
No. And that's why I expressed them just through my behavior. I had a lot of triggers. Kids can be cruel. Sometimes when it comes to joking, especially mama jokes, I'm cool. I can hang in there for a minute. But once those jokes start sounding accurate or personal,
you snap.
It's over.
But also in Harlem, in New York, it's known that you got to earn your respect on the streets.
Absolutely.
Was it also triggering you? Like, I have to earn my respect. I have to look up for myself. If I didn't.
Well, respect for me was passed down. My grandfather, well respected. My grandmother, well respected. My father, well respected. My mom's well respected.
So khalas, you have it.
So respect was handed down. But upholding it, because you gotta remember, this is a generational thing. It's being passed down. So in my mind, I have to think about my sisters. I have two sisters that's twins. They 6 years younger than me. And I have a little brother. You know what I'm saying?
Take care of them.
Yeah. So how I carry myself in these streets is going to reflect on how they're going to be treated.
100%.
Because how my grandparents carried themselves is why I was respected by the elders. They knew I came from good stock. They knew I was raised by great people. So all the elders, respected me. My mother and father, they made their bones. So their generation respected me. So
let's go to Loon when he decided to go into the entertainment industry and decided to go into rapping.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Where were the connections? What did you do?
Loon came from, the name first and foremost came from California.
Okay. And so why did you choose that? Was it given to you?
I didn't choose it.
You didn't choose it?
I didn't choose it. It was just the behavior issues that I had in New York just followed me to California. And based
you
on
had reputation.
The culture, but the culture in California,
yeah,
I was crossing a lot of boundaries that I wasn't aware of.
Were you in LA?
Well, I lived in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
Yes, I was like right on the border of Beverly Hills and West LA. So my godfather, he was a motion picture producer. You know, he had
When you say Godfather, can you explain that?
well, godfather back then would be the person who would Christian you. You know what I'm saying? So when a child is Christianed, you know, like in Christianity, you don't really take a shahada. It's kind of like there's something that's passed down as a birthright. And then the person
during baptism, right?
Yeah, during the baptism.
Yeah.
So I mean, people have seen, you know, the Godfather movie. Yeah.
But I mean, when you say Godfather, because you were raised by your grandparents and you went to LA, and there you've known your Godfather.
Yeah, I've known him prior to that because he was from Harlem as well. He went to Harvard, graduated from Harvard. You know, he was one of the exceptional in our family. You know, every family has one.
Yeah.
Maybe two if you're lucky. You know what I mean? But he was the one that, you know, my grandmother and his mother were tight.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They even did a kid swap.
Kid swap?
Yeah, meaning his mother, my Aunt Henny, raised my mother, and then my grandmother raised my godfather. Yeah, this how close they were.
Is this common? Or is just...
I think it wasn't something that was like long term, but it was kind of a like, you know, I can't even describe what kind of friendship that is. That's a very
tight
unique and deep friendship.
That you trust someone with your
child and vice versa.
Yeah.
So anyway, you know, Georgia's accomplishments was something that I tried to mirror as a kid. So I did go to some of the best schools in the world. And I was able to maintain, you know, my presence in those schools based on my, you know, academics. But the behavior
still had a bad temper.
Always put me, you know, in a rough spot. And it was always this congregation of adults, you know, getting together to give me another chance. And he's such a brilliant kid. Just give him another chance. It's like, but at the same time, it's a lot of worry because those chances ended up, you know, being a result of me harming other children. So anyway, long story short, there's an incident that took place in Harlem where someone got shot.
Okay.
Now, my grandmother known for me to always have fights. That was cool. Coming home, you know, always having fights, scuffles, whatever. I boxed when I was young. Yeah. So I had a skill set. And I did a little martial arts as well when I was young. So I had a little advantage over my peers. Mm. So she wasn't ever really worried about me fighting. But now when someone getting shot, this is like graduating.
She got scared.
She got scared. So I became the original Fresh Prince.
Oh, original Fresh Prince.
I get shipped to Beverly Hills to stay with my godfather.
And there you started your career in music?
No, actually I was pursuing a career in film because my godfather was a film producer. And he used to make me study films. He made me study foreign films. He made me look at classical films. I used to go to movies with him, movies that were currently in theater, and he would just dissect the whole movie, just kill. It was like a killjoy because it was like, I'm trying to enjoy the movie.
He's giving you,
and he's pointing out scenes like, you see that scene right there, like bro, just let the guy fly. You know what I mean? I don't need to know that it's, you know, CGI. Like I don't need to know, you know. But he used to do these things because he, in a way, he was grooming me to understand the film business.
Yes.
And I remember one time, Big Daddy Kane was in town. He asked me, did I want to go to the concert? He pulled up at the basketball court and playing boy, like, you know, Big Daddy Kane in town. I was like, all right. I wasn't really, you know, I wasn't jacking, you know, rap like that. Or the artist. I wasn't really into it, even though I enjoy some of their music. But I just wasn't that hard pressed where I wanted to go to a concert. Like, you know what I mean? So Loon came from, like I said, my behavior. I'm New York crazy. But in California, a lot of stuff I'm doing is not tolerated.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, so I'm constantly get reminded, like, hey, homie, this ain't New York. Somebody will smoke you out here for doing that. And I'm like, smoke me for what?
Yeah.
Hey, homie, you walk around here with your pants hanging off your butt and all that, homie. You sagging and all that. Hey, and I'm just not understanding why all
totally
of this.
Different
Yeah,
culture.
why is all this so problematic? And why does it got to lead to getting smoked? Because, you know, in New York, my age, nobody getting shot.
Yeah.
We fighting. Worst happen till you get jumped.
Yeah.
You know, worst happen you run into some Puerto Rican, somebody might stab you. You know what I mean? But getting shot.
for swagging your pants.
It just wasn't something that was as prevalent as it is now in this generation. No, we fought. You know what I mean? We wasn't quick to get guns. So anyway,
You
it
went to the
started
concert.
translating into, hey homie, you loony. Hey cuz, you loony.
Oh, you're acting crazy.
Yeah, you just not thinking straight, you know, because you just every day it's like you just keep getting into more and more stuff because of the behavior that comes with being a New Yorker. So now I didn't pursue the music career until I got back to New York.
Okay.
Yeah, because basically I crashed the whole opportunity in California. I got into fights out there. It's just
Because of the attitude and the temper.
just everything. It was a lot. It was a lot. And it was very abrupt transition from being at that age and coming to an environment where there's abundance of opportunity that was being provided. I went to Beverly Hills High School. And I was classmates with Angelina Jolie. You know, I think Monica Lewinsky was in the 10th grade when I was there. You got Billy D. Williams' daughter. You got all kinds of famous people. Michael Landry from Little House in the Prairie, you know, the Campanellas. I mean, you name it. There was an abundance of celebrity children that went to this school. And I got hurled in that because of an incident that took place in Harlem, you know? So
Did you fit in California?
I fit absolutely well. But the problem was, I don't think everybody fit with me.
Gotcha.
You know, I was cool. It wasn't no pressure for me to be in that environment.
Back then, what was your dream career? Like, if you ever sat down and thought, I want to be like this in the future, was it always
I wanted to be
film?
like George. I wanted to be like my
100%.
godfather. Like I said, his accomplishments was something that was sought after in my family. Because the majority of the people in my family were all pretty much products, you know, of their environment. So the consistency of having a cousin or this one that sell drugs, you know, probably stick up, robbed, or whatever the case may be. You know, my family was jacks of all trades, you know.
Okay.
So for him to be the guy to step out, he was kind of a mirror of the reputation that my grandparents
We're building.
were building,
Yeah.
being law-abiding citizens, being civil, you know what I'm saying, being, you know.
Accomplished people.
Exactly.
And then you went to New York. And when did you start throwing bars and freestyling and doing?
It came from therapy. You know what I'm saying? It came from therapy because.
Okay, this is interesting. So
yeah,
because of
my behavior,
yeah,
prior to me going to California, they wouldn't allow me to go to public school unless I had therapy.
and of course the psychologist told you or psychiatrist told you you need to start writing down what you're feeling.
Bingo.
And then you started rhyming.
No, it took some time.
Took some time.
Yeah. So I'll give you the steps. Now, it's funny because I used to go every Monday and Thursday for 4 years. This was a condition to go to public school.
How old were you?
Man, I probably was like
14?
10.
Oh.
Yeah,
therapy.
This is before I went to California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So basically, the therapist, like you said, he encouraged me to start writing because I didn't have a voice. I didn't know how to articulate
or express your feelings.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that became a problem, trying to figure out how to speak. So him giving me this outlet, I started to become way more articulate, but only on paper. You understand?
Then let it out.
Only on paper. So now what I would do, I took that method and changed it into something even more therapeutic. I wrote like I was writing for a teacher. Then I would write the same thing over like I was writing it for a friend that might be incarcerated with all the slang and everything. Then I would write it in rhyme. So that 3-step process helped me cope with issues that may have impacted me and disrupted my whole, my energy. But I would take that 3-step method to kind of suffice, the anxiety or anger or whatever I was feeling at the time. And by the time I finished that process, I'd done away with it. So the rhyme part, I started to include my imagination. So for example, something happened. I explained it how it happened. Then I explained it again in slang. But then I used my imagination of what I would want to do to make that thing go away. Right?
Interesting.
So it became me vicariously acting out without acting out.
You remember the first thing you ever wrote? Like that rhymed? What were you talking about?
It's funny you say that, because I do kind of remember vaguely. But all of it used to correspond with what was happening in my life in real time. So I never was an imaginary rapper. I never was a artist that felt like I needed to sensationalize things.
You were expressing yourself.
That's it. It was therapy.
Yeah.
It's therapy. And I believe a lot of artists that's the basis of being an artist.
We're going to talk about this, by the way. We're going to talk about rap today, but I want to know when Loon started, reading back, those were not bars or verses. We were just feeling that he's trying to express himself.
My verses was crazy. And you know who helped me start commercializing my music or making it more palatable?
Yeah.
My grandmother. She found one of my books one time.
She read them.
And she was like, I'm like, what happened? She said, you ain't gonna get nowhere calling girls bees and hoes and this and that. And like, I'm like, I'm just expressing myself. She said, well, you need to find a better way to express yourself. Cause you ain't gonna make no money. You ain't gonna do well. She basically just shot down the whole, everything. Cause for me, it was just venting. And I felt good after I got off my chest.
And it was only for you. You were reading.
It was only for me.
Yeah.
None of my friends knew I wasn't really interested in being no rapper. This is me. Like, I actually, to be honest with you, it was a weakness where I came from. If someone would have discovered that, which happened, and that's what actually led me to doing music. And I'll give you the story. I had bought a car, a stolen car, but the guys had changed all the tags on the car. So it was pretty much a new car.
Yeah.
But they made a fatal mistake and didn't change one serial number, something they didn't do when they tagged it up.
So you got caught?
I got caught in that car. But I left my book in the spot where I was hustling.
Yeah.
Because I left the book and got in the car, got arrested, called my homeboy, hey, come get me. Police just grabbed me for this car. He like, I told you not to get in that car. Like, man, later for that, come get me. So when he came and got me, we ride in a taxi back up to our neighborhood. And he started saying lines that sounded extremely familiar.
You read the book.
And I said, yo, where you hear that from? He said, your book, you left that. So immediately, you understand? I was on the defense.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to know I feel that way. You're not supposed to know I'm even thinking like that.
It's like your diary.
Exactly.
Like
that's exactly what it was.
And no one's supposed to read it.
Exactly what it was.
So it was like a weakness to you. Like you're telling your feelings that no one's supposed to.
No one cares where I come from. No one cares. No one cares about your feelings.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother get high too. Yeah. Your mother get high. My mother get high. My father ain't around. Your father ain't around. Like, this is a commonality. We normalize this pain in the ghetto. People don't understand that. We make this normal. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because it is.
So I read some rhymes that say, like, if you go to a private school, then you're privileged, and this will be used against you in a bar because you're not supposed to have a privileged life in New York or in Detroit.
Well, the thing is, you're making a mockery of someone's circumstances.
Yes.
You're making a choice that's really not even on the table for you. So it becomes a mockery. And we'll get to that later too as well, because this is why you have problems starting to emerge in places around the world where this lifestyle is not even, present.
Yes.
It's being created.
100%.
By kids that are squares. Good kids, both their parents. Like, they got all of the things that just say, stay away.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, instead of him discouraging me, he encouraged me. This is my man. I speak to him to this day. May Allah guide him. You know, I try to slip some dawah on, you know, every now and then. And he was like, yo, this stuff is dope, yo. Like you should keep it up.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them like, all right, but give me my book. You know what I mean? Because you know, I still ain't comfortable. Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. But it's
give
like,
me the book.
Give me that book. Because I don't
yeah.
even know how much you read. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack in it, you know? So yeah, that's how it started.
And he introduced you to anyone, or he just?
No, he didn't introduce me. The first time I got an inspiration, my cousin had grabbed me. Rahimullah, he actually took Shahada before he died as well, since I've been home from prison. He said, yeah, there's this kid doing this soundtrack for this movie called Gun Runners. He said, if I bring you, you know, he asked me, did I got an artist? I said, yeah, my little cousin. So he's making a whole deal without even me knowing. This is how people seen how, you know, good I was with this, but I didn't see it. So
I think the best artists in the world don't see their work as art or as big as other people see it.
Well, I didn't see the persona that came with being a rapper.
Because it's not what you wanted. It's just, I'm telling my feelings. They shouldn't be even out there. I don't want to talk about them out loud.
Because see, what I wrote, and you measure that with the persona of rappers, you know what I'm saying? It didn't mix. Because it's like, you know, later on we started to discover.
Yeah, but you're not talking about guns, girls.
But we started to discover artists later who made the connection. But back then, you talking about LL Cool J, you know, Kool Moe Dee, you know, you talking about hip hop.
Yeah.
I'm talking about something a little bit more dark, a little bit more personal. And we wasn't there yet. You know what I'm saying? As a hip hop culture, we wasn't there yet. So he like, yeah, this kid Tony, he doing the soundtrack. I told him I got artists. I said, my little cousin. So mind you, I had to get there and write a rhyme on the spot. One verse for me and one verse for my cousin. You know what I mean? And we never got the gig.
But this is how it started.
But it just showed me. Yeah. My cousin put me in a spontaneous situation and I came through. You know? So now I'm starting to understand I may have the ability to be
a rapper.
Because for what I understand, this is how they create. Me, I'm just doing this on my leisure, or when things get a little bit difficult. This one, you know, I only engage under certain circumstances. I was never pushed into a situation where, you know,
I want to write something.
Perform.
Yeah. But do you still do this today? Do you still write when you? Okay.
I don't do nothing. I haven't listened to music in 16 years, Akhi.
MashaAllah. We'll get to Amir's transition, like full transition.
Yeah.
And then how did you meet like Diddy, the industry, the OGs back then of the industry?
Okay.
Or they met you?
I was in a group.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It was me and a guy from, you know, I can't even call it a project. So I lived in Esplanade Gardens. So it was a co-op development. So I actually lived in a very nice place that was dead smack in the middle of the worst part of Harlem. So it's almost like they grew a rose
in the middle of
in the middle of cactuses and so. So yeah, Nitty or Jamie, he lived in building 4. I lived in building 1. He was older than me. And Nitty was a career criminal. He went to jail a lot. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't depict him to be one of the smartest criminals, but like everybody, we all take a shot at, you know, gambling with our life. And he lost a lot of them gambles because he went to jail a lot. But anyway, we started this group called Crime Fam. And the dynamic was excellent because he was like in his 20s. I was still a teenager. So he was telling, you know, he was rapping from a more seasoned vet type of angle. And I was like the young kid who was, you know, fire and ice, you know. So we ended up getting a deal with Tommy Boy Records. Now, Tommy Boy at the time, they was famous for having like Queen Latifah, Naughty by Nature, Cypress Hill. They had, had some big acts, on Tommy Boy back in the 90s. But we had an album called Harlem World.
This was before Bad Boys, right?
Before Bad Boy,
Yeah.
before Mace, before everybody. We had an album called Harlem World.
So you were with Diddy when, was he Diddy at that time? Or
He was just Puffy.
Puffy.
Yeah,
so
he was.
you were with
See,
Puffy.
when we got our deal, he had just closed his deal for Bad Boy Entertainment, which was a production company.
Was not
Bad Boy Records came later. But Bad Boy Entertainment was a production company. And his artist was, Craig Mack. And he had Biggie.
Yeah, Biggie Smalls.
And so basically, when we did our deal, Tommy Boy slept on the whole project. And then Mace introduced to the world, Harlem World, around 97 on Bad Boy Records. So when Bad Boy took off, Mace circled back.
He wants it back in.
No, he circled back to try to get me to start. We were supposed to start a group called Harlem World.
Gotcha.
To pick up off of the momentum of his success, which came from him basically forging something that Nitty and I created. You know what I'm saying? So there was tension. Like, to the point where it's almost perceived like you stole.
Yeah.
So he circled back to try to, rectify things by creating a group, which would have consisted of me, the late Big L, Cam, Herb McGruff, and Mace. This would have been like the dream team. This would have been, what I'm saying?
But Puffy was not part of it.
Puff wasn't a part of it.
Yeah.
Mace had got a deal with So Def, you know what I'm saying, with Jermaine Dupri to produce this album. But all those guys I named, wasn't in a good place with Mace. They didn't have, their relationships wasn't the same. So none of them wanted to be a part of it. So he ended up, filling in the blanks by using his twin sister, my man Blinky Blink, and Cardan, and Mino.
Was the industry violent as people portray it back then, or is it was just in the bars, only business? Fights, like business fights.
The thing is this: most artists produce the soundtrack of the environments they come from. So once that representation takes place, it only heightens the zeal in the hearts of the people in that community that they're representing. And that's really where the violence ensues, right?
Amplifies the fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that guy is just a promotional vehicle for that.
He's an entertainer doing a song, talking about the pain and what's going on.
He's a journalist.
Yeah. And people just take that.
Exactly. But then the worst case, which is something that was more common than rare, is that these guys start trying to incorporate
in the industry
that mentality from the music. It's like you was just rapping about it. You wasn't really doing it.
Yeah, now you're doing it.
But now you're trying to do it. And it's kind of late.
So what happened between the East and the West and Tupac?
Yeah, that was tension that was always there because, it actually goes back to like NWA, and there used to be this group called Mob Style from Harlem. And people didn't know that Eazy-E was really talking about them in a lot of records that were just big, but just seemed like he was just generally just saying things. But when he was mentioning, I'm back, the good, the bad, the ugly, you see, Mob Style had an album called The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. And they was talking about the West Coast rappers, So that tension was always there because we on two different worlds. West Coast is more gang affiliated. East Coast is more who you are as an individual. You know what I'm saying? We make our bones being individuals. That's why you have the names, the Gottis, and you hear about every gangster in New York kind of having his own light. You know what I mean? And each person that's aligned with them, they got their own, like, you know what I'm saying?
What did you want from the industry?
What did I want? I wanted to escape.
You wanted to leave.
I wanted to get away from the street.
Okay, so you wanted to get away from the streets, and
Yeah.
you went into the Bad Boys for Life.
Well, I actually started ghostwriting before I became an artist.
So I read something.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Even before that.
Even before that.
First person I ever ghostwritten for was Shaquille O'Neal. And yeah, that's
Wow.
the first person I ever ghostwritten for. Then I ghostwritten for Puff in the Forever album before I was even on Bad Boy. I wasn't even a Bad Boy artist. I was still in the street. I was just ghostwriting because I didn't want to be in front of the camera. Because I was already doing stuff in different states, you know, all like crime related, different aliases, names. I didn't want to be in front of a camera. So I was writing this stuff. I get a check, take it right to the car dealership and cash the check and pull out with a car.
Yeah.
You know, letting these people do whatever they do with the songs. I didn't care. You know?
And those songs were getting hyped.
They were getting, yeah, they were buzzing. You know what I'm saying? So now fast forward, I was a Arista artist with Clyde Davis was president. Then when he left and formed J Records, L.A. Reid took over. There was a conflict of interest, and I ended up going to Bad Boy.
Okay.
Which was underneath Arista. So I was already in the building.
When you say ghostwriter, so probably the people don't know.
Yeah.
But the people in the industry. I mean, I'm listening to the song. I don't know that Loon wrote this for Diddy, for example.
Yeah.
But the people in the industry, do they know that Loon is writing? Loon
Absolutely.
is the ghostwriter. Yeah.
People in the industry are artists.
They know.
Most artists who have the ability to sing may not write their songs.
100%.
They can sing though.
But they know it's Loon who wrote it.
They know, yeah. I mean, you could look at the credits. I mean, when it says written by, if it says C. Hawkins.
I know, but sometimes they try to hide it. Like they don't mention who wrote that song.
Nah, I think it became, I mean, once upon a time, nobody cared.
Yeah.
But I think as time started to go by, people started to pay a little bit more attention to the people behind the music, you know? So.
Yeah. When was the decision that, خلاص, I will sing, I'll be in front of the camera, and I don't know if it was I Need a Girl or there was anything before that.
I did a video with Brand Nubian. Remember Brand Nubian?
Yeah, and Toni Braxton, he had a song with her
that
too.
came later.
Yeah.
But Brand Nubian, I did a song with them called Get Your Back Up Off the Wall. In that video, when that video came out, I was sitting somewhere literally biting my nails, extremely concerned.
Not comfortable.
That somebody, the police may come kicking the door. You know, or someone would finger me for something I might have did somewhere else or whatever. I made some choices in the past, you know. But when it didn't happen, I kind of was like, okay, that was all right.
I'm a bit confused and curious.
Okay.
You were privileged from everywhere. Like you had a career that you can pursue as a writer, as a rapper, a film career. You went to the best schools. Why did you choose the trouble life? Like, you know, why did you go back to that?
I left home when I was young. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be a burden on my grandmother because she took care of all of us. She took care of the whole family. So when I left, I chose the street. I chose to be in an environment that, you know, got a hold of my mother. Be in the same environment that, you know, my father was a product of. And I did it for that reason. The beautiful thing about the choice I made to go on the street was the choice I made to leave it. It wasn't Islam. Things got so bad, you know what I'm saying, in the streets, that my mother made a very crucial decision that almost cost me my life. And that's something she's never done. Through the course of her addiction, everything, she's never jeopardized my life. She's never subjected herself to anything lowly. Through the course of her addiction, she always was a stand-up person and everybody respected her. But what she did almost cost me my life. And me and her made a pact. I said, if you stop using drugs, I'll stop selling them.
Wow.
And I remember walking my mother to the bus stop to go to the rehabilitation center. And that was the last day she got high, and it was the last day I sold drugs. And that's when I started to take the music business very serious, because it became my only outlet. I had made a pact with my mother, the very person I was in the street for. I was in there to try to go in and pull her out. Sounds ridiculous. It's not a good plan. I don't encourage nobody to even try to do it that way. Some people you just gotta let go. But this is my mother. I only got one.
Yeah.
So I tried to go in there and pull her out. And by Lord's permission, I was successful. When I pulled her out, I pulled myself out. And that's when I started to take the music business very serious.
And you were successful.
Alhamdulillah, I was successful.
How long did you last in the music industry?
I would say from the early, actually 2000 to 2008.
8 years.
8 years.
And during that time, now we know what's going on with Diddy and the court. It's hype. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
A lot of names involved. And I know you were with Puffy.
Yeah.
Puff, before even he becoming Diddy. So you were with him during that transition of power from Puff to Diddy and Bad Boys for Life and everything.
Yeah.
And during that time, like I know there's a course happening today.
Yeah.
Talking about everything. But you were there with the guy and you were close to the guy.
Yeah.
And you know exactly if there were after parties like this, if there was involvement in any kind of human trafficking or anything that they're talking about today. I don't want to defend him. I don't want to shame him. I just want to talk about what's going on.
To give clarity to what you're saying, you got to remember, I was there from 2000 to 2008.
Yeah.
Most of the accusations that's being made, I was long gone.
I know, but you would know the character of the guy.
Now, the character that he possessed within the time frame that I was around does not constitute any of the allegations that's being made about him today. Everyone in this business has their share, you know what I'm saying, of the things, the accolades that come with the business. Everyone has their share, and everyone indulges in these things depending on their personality, their character. But there's a certain consensual nature that comes with the activities that take place in that business. And there's enough guilt to pass around, male or female. You see what I'm getting? Because a lot of times in that business, there are women who subject themselves to fame and success. And a lot of them is in love with the idea, not a reality. In love with the idea that maybe I'm special. Maybe I'll be the one that changed this man's whole view, you know? And when that doesn't happen, some gracefully move on and try somebody else. Some can't handle it. And they target the very person who just discouraged their whole plan.
Is it a Hollywood thing? Is it something that people don't know about Hollywood? The conspiracy theories that rise, selling your soul to the industry and doing whatever you're told, and when you don't, you're going to jail.
I mean, see, I think people look at Hollywood as an institution.
It's a cult.
As a cult, as an institution that facilitates these things. No. Hollywood just brings these things to where they're accessible. You have some celebrities that don't go near this stuff. 100%. If you look at like a Denzel Washington, he's been happily married throughout his whole career.
Very respectful.
He don't party, he don't do none of that stuff. Samuel Jackson, you have people who abstain from this stuff. So when you look at the majority who indulge in it, people start to just assume that it's a cult, it's a club, is it this, and that. But ain't nothing happening to the people that abstain from it. They're not under any pressure.
And they're
not being targeted. And they're
it's
very
not like
successful.
You need to be successful.
Exactly.
To
it's no different than anything. Yeah. Life is about choices, right? So what I will say is being an African American or Hispanic, whether you black or brown, and you in that business, the scrutiny is magnified if you get caught. You know what I'm saying? If you get caught,
Yeah.
you become the recipient of all of the people who got away.
But you got a case like Diddy today, Jeffrey Epstein, that was also like similar in a way.
Let me just say this for the record. I don't approve of anything that transpired between, Puff and his then girlfriend or whatever, Cassie. No one can unsee what they saw in that video. No one can unsee that. But you also have to look at the years of this toxic, tumultuous relationship that was fueled by drugs, alcohol, and all kinds of things. I believe, honestly, there's enough blame to circulate,
on both of them.
On both of them.
Yeah.
But once again,
you were with Puff during J-Lo's relationship, right?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And no one ever heard about J-Lo getting beat up, kicked around, whatever the case may be. But it's not to justify no one's behavior. I'm just being honest.
No, we're not defending them. Yeah, we're just talking about what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so removed from that life and that partnership with Diddy that I don't have no skin in that. You know what I'm saying?
If he called you today to testify, to talk about everything you know about the Puff that people don't know,
it would only speak to a characteristic that might have existed prior to all of that. You know what I'm saying? Mm. But I wouldn't voluntarily go to court to testify for nobody. To be honest with you, it's just not what I do.
But
if I was subpoenaed or something like that, then
you were homies.
Yeah, but still, it's like I had a lot of homies when I went to prison for 9 years.
I want to talk about this too. I mean,
I didn't get no.
Before I talk about you going to prison, I want to talk about the video that went viral after you went to prison. I read something that said Loon forgives Diddy.
That was clickbait. Somebody used that title, but it had nothing to do with.
It sounded like he framed you.
No. See, that's the thing that's sad, with being that famous and influential. People try to attribute my religious faith, Sean's religious faith, and Mace's religious faith with Puff.
100%. They will try to do that 100% because it's a controversial topic, and then they drag things in it to make it even more controversial.
But this is what people miss out. Every human being at some point when they reach some type of adverse circumstance, it's instinctive, it's your natural disposition to turn to the one who created you. It's instinctive. You understand? Let somebody pull a gun out and put it in your face. What's the first thing a person say?
Ya Allah.
Oh my God, don't shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Prior to that, you wasn't thinking about God. But in that state of immense fear, the first thing comes to your mind is, oh my God, don't shoot. Right?
Yeah.
So now you got to look at the things that transpired in my life, Sean's life, and Mace's life.
Before we go to the prison and everything that happened and you converting to Islam, I want to just end the Hollywood part. Okay. There's a lot of controversy about Ja Rule and Beyonce today being as not even powerful.
What do you mean, Jay-Z?
It look like Jay-Z. Yeah. Not even powerful. They're making it look like they're controlling the business in a way. They pull the strings inside, and you're either on their side or you're gone.
Yeah.
Similar to Diddy, similar to a lot of names before.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's talk about it openly. Since you were there, I don't want to say my point of view.
The thing is this. I'm gonna make real clear for you before you. We've learned in this day and time, even the youngsters today, learn to focus on who controls the narrative. You understand?
Yeah.
Because if we keep chewing grass that people keep putting in front of us, then we like sheep. You understand? If the media keeps putting grass in front of you, you just keep chewing and keep chewing. We become like sheep. So now you have to start looking at who controls the narrative. You know what I'm saying? Who's behind this story? Because neither one of us is in proximity of Jay-Z or Beyonce.
Yeah.
May not never be in the respective spaces, right? So why is it that anything someone hurls in the air about somebody, we just quickly digest it? We don't fact check it. We don't do nothing. We don't investigate who's controlling the narrative. Because I think this day and time, people are learning by some of the affairs that are happening in the world today, that there's a author to this chaos and confusion. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. And that's what we all trying to understand. I think we all learning at the same time. I think the answer, we just keep waking up in the morning and keep waking up.
Who's writing this?
Yeah, all we got to do is keep waking up. I think somewhere down the line, maybe a month or two, we all going to get it, you know? But right now, there is still some doubt, some skepticism, but I think there's a part of it is where we're starting to question, like, come on. Is this a coincidence?
It can't be.
That everybody throwing their hands up a certain way or doing certain things? It is a coincidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't really feed into it.
I wanna talk about something that happened though. Forget about the things that we don't know. Let's talk about what happened.
Okay.
So Loon decided to leave the fame, the money, the power that you had, or the future that you were getting into, and chose a totally different path. Something that he knew would get him in a lot of backlashes, probably. You didn't care a lot about it.
I didn't know. Because honestly, I wasn't looking for Islam.
So what happened?
That's the thing. My stint at Bad Boy, we talked about this offline, about the whole artist element.
Yes.
The competitiveness that comes with being an artist. Right?
I totally want to talk about this now.
Puff being an artist.
Yeah.
It prompted him to compete with other artists outside of Bad Boy and compete with artists inside of Bad Boy. So I think that anybody that followed my career and my breakout records and stuff like that knew that I had the potential to probably exceed
Diddy.
Some of the accomplishments, you know, that came with records that Puff may have performed or featured on, whatever the case may be. I had that potential. My only griping, my only issue is that I felt like systematically there was something put in place to impede me from that growth, you know? And as a young kid in your 20s, you know what I'm saying, thriving, got some of the biggest records on the radio.
I read something the other day. I actually not read it. I wrote it. It says, it makes sense right now. When you become too good to be ignored, you become both an asset and a threat.
Yeah.
And did you feel threatened though?
I felt like I started to learn that I was a threat. I never felt threatened.
Yeah.
But I started to learn that I was a threat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So these are all creative issues. Personally, I never had no problem with him. I did great business.
But you can see it.
I owned all my publishing.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no Bad Boy artist that could say that. That's what people don't understand. When people had issues with him about publishing, I didn't have that issue. I own my publishing. When people had issues with money, I never had problems with money. I always got paid. I never had these problems. The only problem I ever had was the competitiveness that comes with a CEO that's supposed to be assuming the role of a CEO, but is being contaminated or corrupted by his role as an artist. So with that being said,
so he said like Eminem and Dre never had that because Dre is a producer. He's more of a producer than an artist.
Dre is a producer who artists that he worked for encourage him to get on records.
Yes.
You know, and then the success of that encouraged him to do an album. You know what I'm saying? But Dre,
is a producer.
Was a producer.
Yeah.
And the producer's role is to create the soundtrack of an artist's life. And that's why Dre gonna always be, you know what I'm saying, to me, one of the best producers, if not the best producer, you know what I'm saying, in the music industry.
Why didn't you move out to a different label, different record?
Well, the thing is, you know, once you on Bad Boy, you know,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
They were
it is
best
kind of
known
like
record.
being in a gang, you know?
Yeah.
And it's by default. You don't choose to represent yourself like you're a part of a gang, but it's like you have, like the Italians, you got the 5 families. You got Bad Boy, you got Rockefeller, you got Rough Riders, you got Cash Money. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Especially after the
in my
Tupac Biggie
generation,
thing.
these were the guys, and then, you know, No Limit, you know, these were the guys who were at the head of the table, you know?
Yeah.
There was no other way for us to get into the business unless through those doors, or you go through you go through major labels and get screwed over.
Did it get like too threatening after what happened with Biggie and Tupac and
Nah, I never had problems with
like
that.
the violence in the industry?
Nah, that all of that came about because of the loss of life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The ones that were documented and the ones that wasn't documented. People don't know how many people died after Tupac died. People don't know how many people died after Biggie died. You know what I'm saying? We're still holding on to the death of Biggie Smalls, you know what I'm saying, Tupac. You know, but there was fueled violence that spread all through the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got kids probably in school arguing about who's better, Biggie and Tupac, and it just turned into a fight. You know what I'm saying? You can't dismiss the violence just because of, you know, nobody died, but it's violence coming from this.
As an artist, who did you think was better? I mean, they had
Who I
different.
I thought Tupac was an amazing artist.
Yeah.
Amazing artist. You know, I can't say I was too much of a fan of him personally because I noticed a lot of inconsistencies in who he was as a person. Now, Biggie, on the other hand, I had the privilege of meeting, hanging out with, you know what I'm saying, partying with, whatever the case may be. And Big was a bona fide artist. You know what I'm saying? Big wasn't wrapped up and tied up into anything. He had a very deep and genuine love for hip hop. And it showed in his music, you know?
Yeah.
His creativity, his ability to tell stories, his ability to paint pictures. Now, Pac, on the other hand, he was a beast when it came to articulating the struggle of a people. He had that, you know what I'm saying, genuinely because of his background, you know, being raised by the Panthers, you know what I'm saying, constantly moving from state to state, you know, because of his mother's affiliation with the Panthers and so on and so forth. So it's like he had a lot of elements in him that really made him an extremely impactful artist. But I think somewhere down the line, he lost that and spiraled into somebody that, you know, in his last couple of days, you know, it's not that I couldn't recognize, I didn't want to recognize it. You know what I mean? Because I was more inspired by, you know, his voice for the people. Once it spiraled into this anger, this angry guy who's fueling a fire that's going to reverse all of the impact you had on your people to encourage them and mobilize them to see their worth. Now they're looking at another person that looks just like them and wants to harm them.
Just like Martin Luther King, but in the rap industry. Would you say that?
Well, he was more like Malcolm.
Malcolm X.
Yeah, he was more like Malcolm. I'll give him that. He was definitely more like Malcolm. And Malcolm had his spurts too when he would, you know, express his frustrations and anger, and it would kind of set back, you know, some of his tone prior to that. But it was never to the point where it was off the hinges. You know, he always was composed.
Controlled it,
He always was composed. And that's important for leaders. You know what I'm saying? And I think Pac was a leader, you know.
But he didn't have I think there was no one with him to tell him like you need to stop right here. Or he didn't listen actually.
I honestly believe he was around people who encouraged
him to
that behavior,
outburst,
you know. And that's where you seen a crack in his leadership Because for anything, you the one that should be inspiring and leading these people, you know what I'm saying, to seeking higher plateaus in life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I want to go back to Loon though. So you were competing not intentionally, but unintentionally. You were competing with the CEO of Bad Boys.
I would say the other way around because I'm a loyal person, you know, and I took that mission on, you know, from the very beginning, you know,
Loyal or just humble?
loyal,
Okay.
you know, there's humility and loyalty, you know what I'm saying? And I was humble because regardless of what transpired, I always reflect on where I could have been,
Yeah.
you know, and that's a certain sense of gratitude I think we lose. You know what I'm saying? Because it morphs into some form of entitlement, some type of arrogance. It's like, bro, if you don't have no silver spoon story and you emerge into this artist who has everything at his grasp, let's not forget. You understand? Because that's what's gonna keep you grounded. That's what's gonna make people who saw your humble beginnings respect you. You know, but it's just like this disease with a lot of people in that business. They want to run from their identity.
100%.
You know, they start coming up with alternate names, all kinds of stuff that, you know, to try to, you know, misdirect people from seeing who they really are, you know. But when I left on amicable terms, me and Puff ain't had no problems. It wasn't no long drawn out contract. That joint got done that day. When I said at that moment I didn't want to be here,
Was done.
he said something slick like, well, I don't want nobody that don't want to be here, you know, be around, whatever. Long as, you know, the ink dry. And I was gone. So this is how I became Muslim. I was on a mission to prove to myself, the Puff, and the world that I can do this by myself. It was bold. It was a little cocky. And it might have been even a little premature. But I set out to do that. But Allah had a whole nother plan.
I've watched all the podcasts where you talked about Islam, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something you've never mentioned. I'm sure in my mind, there was that day, that night, whatever you want to call it, whenever it was, where you were sitting by yourself
Mm-hmm.
and you felt something that made you go that path.
That's the thing. I've tried in numerous occasions without cameras to find words that explain what happens to your heart. See, like when I give that account, I can only tell you, you know, what the temperature was, the date was, where I was located, which way, you know, the wind speed, all those details.
But not the change of heart.
What happens to your heart when the Lord decides to change your heart? It's not like changing your mind. People think it's the same. Like, okay, I intended to do something, but you know what? Never mind. Nah, the heart don't work like that. The heart is totally different.
100%.
The heart is totally different. So for me to be going in one direction and gradually being pulled in another direction, when it came full circle, it only made sense why, but I can't explain how. That makes sense?
100%. But the thing is, did it happen at once or were you gradually going?
No, gradually, because I was getting stripped down. And I tell my story, I always speak about what happened in Senegal first, what I was exposed to, you know, in Senegal. Learning that a people who were enslaved, but the rebellious ones, the ones who were strong, the ones who fought, they fought because they wouldn't submit to no one other than God. I never heard that in my life. I come from a place where people die over a block, die over some money, die over a girl, die over the color of a rag, you know what I'm saying? Die over a location that's going to outlive them, a street sign that, you know what I'm saying, you probably can't even spell. I've seen people die for foolishness. I've never heard of a man that died for God. So to me, that was the most virtuous thing I ever heard from a person that reflects me, color-wise. Second, I went to Kazakhstan. I learned diversity, right? New York, if you ever been, we got a certain demographic of Muslims. It's Probably more now than it
Yeah.
was when I was growing up. When I was growing up, it was Yemeni, West African, Pakistani. You know what I'm saying?
Now it's
More on the Yemeni and more on the West African. You know what I'm saying? Pakistani pharmacy, maybe in the medical field. You might even have an Indian that might fix your teeth. But that was the extent I ever knew about Muslims. And of course, we see the Arabs on TV and they look crazy all the time. You know what I'm saying? They always made the Arabs look crazy. But the Yemenis, they make up for the Arabs. So now I go to Kazakhstan, like these guys are like descendants of Mongolians or something. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen anyone, who kind of resemble, Yao Ming or, someone of Oriental, descent. When I asked, this particular person that hosted us, like, how you say what's up when you see somebody? Like when you see somebody in the street, how you say what's up? He said, Salam alaikum. I said, no. That's what the Muslims say. He said, no, we Muslim. So my second experience was diversity. Third, I came here. I became Muslim in Abu Dhabi in 2008. I came here as an artist. I performed in Dubai. I performed in Abu Dhabi, right? But I left a Muslim. Because what I saw amongst the Arabs was nothing like I saw on TV. Nothing like them little Yemeni tough guys in my neighborhood that gradually became black. They ain't even Yemeni no more. They black. You know what I'm saying? Because they share our plight in our community. So when I seen the Arabs in the UAE living a similar lifestyle that I saw consistently in the business that I was in, I came out here, wow, they car doors go up too? What's going on? Like, hey, hold on. Because, well,
like what I see
what's crazy?
Yeah.
When the woman that was working for me, when she booked this trip, she told me, they want you to come out to Dubai. I said, I ain't going out there. What's Dubai? She's like, no, it's in the Middle East.
I'm not going there.
What? Like, I just watched them dudes on TV with the machine gun, the turban about to come off his head. And I'm supposed to go out there and do a show.
And then you came.
She's laughing at me because she know it was different. Like, but she
wanted to come and see
she's like, well, they about to give you this amount of money. I said, they can keep that money. Yeah, all money ain't good money. They can have that money.
What convinced you to come?
She showed me a picture of British Arab.
Oh my God.
Alhamdulillah. It's still an attraction to this day. For me, people probably got over it because you got Burj Khalifa. But for me, wallahi, it's always like a time machine. Because I came in 2005, the first time, Then I came back in 2008. But the first time I came, all they had was British Arab. They had the gold suit, like Dieta. Like it's just old Dubai. It wasn't what you see today. You know what I'm saying? So I've grown just as much as...
You loved it so much that it's the place you decided to choose to live in today.
By Allah's permission, Akhi, it's not a day goes by I don't feel like I came full circle. Because it started here for me.
Yeah.
Now this is Hijrah.
Wow.
This is Hijrah. I'm not visiting. I'm rooted in this place.
Nice.
Quoting
words.
I have an extensive visa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm allowed to stay for a long time. So I'm here.
I want to talk about the day when you were traveling with Islam now and learning more about it and talking to people more about it. And you went to Belgium. And that day, Interpol arrested you for a crime. What year was that?
That was 2011.
11. And they
November
arrested you.
17th. Can't forget it.
So 2011, November 17th, you were in Belgium. You arrived and you had different plans. And Interpol came and arrested you for a crime that happened in 2006.
Allegedly. Yeah.
And what I read, I know you will say the story, but what I read, you did an introduction between two people.
But that's not what I was charged for.
It was...
See, I was charged with conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute.
In 2006.
No, 2011. My indictment. All right, let me just give you, just for kicks and giggles. My indictment says somewhere in around about 2006. Just make sense of that part. somewhere in a roundabout. That's like inshallah. Like somewhere in a roundabout 2006.
That's not even hearsay.
That is extreme. That is exactly what it is. That's vague. That's
yeah.
like that is subhanallah. Like I don't even know how you explain it. Somewhere in the roundabout 2006 to September 2008, he said something like that. That's how it read. I conspired with the intent to distribute 1 or more kilo of heroin.
Which,
so I'm not caught in Belgium with anything. I don't have anything on me.
That's what I'm saying.
I got co-conspirators I don't even know. How do you do that?
Were they trying to break your soul? This is what I know. This
Absolutely.
is what I feel. Like someone is trying to break your soul, trying to make you, like, to punish you for something that you've done or you're doing right now, and they're trying to, make you behave.
The prosecutor in my sentencing mentioned that I was parading around the world glorifying my past. Now, anybody that knows me knows during that time, I was Muslim 3 years, just for the record, because a lot of people think I became Muslim in prison. No, I was Muslim 3 years before I went to prison. And in that 3 years, I was giving dawah. I was speaking to at-risk youth. I was speaking to the Muslim youth. I was sharing my reversion story. And these people interpreted that in court as me traveling around the world glorifying my past, and try to make it seem like I was a fugitive, but I'm on YouTube. What kind of fugitive? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Running from the law is going to be on YouTube.
And
on different countries.
You accepted the plea deal?
Absolutely, I had to.
Why?
Because the United States government has like a 97.5 or 98% conviction rate. So that means you don't beat them, period. Now, I had prior criminal history when I was younger.
You're very open about it. You talk about it. You don't have a problem with your
No, I don't have no problem with it because it's a reality.
You didn't get charged for those. You got charged for something that you didn't do.
I already got charged for those in the past. But when you want to create like a pattern, because you need this to prosecute somebody, you have to be able to prove that this is something ongoing in their life, because that's what a conspiracy is. Conspiracy is something ongoing. Yeah. I wasn't charged for like a single thing. Y'all saying that this is something that I do for a living. And that's how they try to perceive me in front of people. Like, I've changed my life completely.
So you accepted the plea deal. So
if I go to trial and lose, I get life.
Okay.
So
it was injustice. You've been in prison for, I know.
I was sentenced to 14 years and I did 9.
You did 9 because COVID hit. You had some health issues.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was the First Step Act that Trump passed. So the Trump administration passed the First Step Act that enables some new contingencies that allow people who are nonviolent offenders, to get some, to get some leniency. First, the Sentencing Commission passed a 2-point reduction for nonviolent offenders. So my 14 went to 11. So this is a law.
Yeah.
Shaving these years off, And
then Corona hit.
And then Corona hit. Then when Corona hit, prior to my release, I became high risk for COVID because I had a lot of attacks on my lungs because of the filthy, environment that is widespread in the prisons in America. So during my prison stint, I had acute bronchitis, I had tuberculosis, I had laryngitis, and then we even had Legionnaire when the wastewater gets mixed with the drinking water. So all of these attacks on my lungs, which is documented in the prison, I stood at high risk
of
COVID killing me because it's a respiratory attack. So if I already had all these attacks on my lungs
during COVID,
the likelihood of me catching COVID
would actually
kill me.
Yeah.
So the judge, so the judge, alhamdulillah,
released you.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about those 9 years with injustice, everything that you've went through. And I know that it didn't actually happen directly, that you were actually flying around the States.
I was flying around the world.
Yeah.
It just so happened that I'm going to countries that don't honor conspiracy. But I'm not thinking this. I'm just going places, speaking to youth.
Yeah.
I went and made Hajj. I came back.
There's no possible person knowing that there's Interpol could be waiting for him in Belgium. They will fly
The
there.
strangest thing was I went to the U.S. Embassy twice in Egypt because I have to go there to sign myself up to Al-Azhar University and sign my son up to an Al-Azhar school.
They never mentioned that to you.
You know, if you ain't right, you don't get to leave the United States Embassy.
That's true.
So this is where you know it gets fishy.
So you just opened the eyes on you that you're Muslim in Egypt.
That's it. I mean, you know,
I don't want to say this is a conspiracy thing, but you spent 9 years in prison, and you got incarcerated for different prisons, and then finally the last prison, you were in solitary confinement. You said for
the first 6 months in Belgium was 23-1. I was locked down 23 hours, and I come out for 1 hour. So this is just me trying to figure out why I'm here. I don't even know why I'm here, and I'm already in solitary confinement.
I want to talk about the feeling that you had, this injustice.
Mm-hmm.
You're Muslim now. What changed? What changed you during that time?
What changed me was I realized.
What gave you the patience, the sabr to move forward with injustice now?
Well, the thing is, you know, as Muslims, we know Allah is the best of planners. You know, there was nothing I was involved in that came remotely close to me having to be the recipient of this type of punishment. But knowing that it was something that Allah decreed for me, I accepted it. And by accepting it, I was able to endure all of the benefit that came with me being in prison. I'm going to tell you how. When I was in Egypt studying Arabic and stuff, learning my religion, I always see myself as a weak student, you know. But when I got to prison, what I benefited the Muslims in prison tremendously. You understand? Because now you have a Muslim who's got pushed into a position of being entrusted with the religious affairs of the people, quote unquote, the imam. Now you have someone who's removed from the prison culture. So that's not being tied into this Islam that I practice. I don't know nothing about Prislam. I'm a Muslim.
I
practice Islam. Yeah. So in prison, you get Prislam. You know, well, cats start incorporating certain things that just goes with the prison culture, and that's not Islam.
So you had a mission in prison,
and that's what made. I remember I said this one time. My wife got mad at me. I said that 9 years went by really fast. She looked at me. And I kind of expected something to fly past the room and hit me upside the head or whatever, because what she endured in my absence, you know, words probably can't explain. I probably couldn't even fathom. But for me, I was on a mission. I was being put in a position to help shape and cultivate Muslims to understand the virtue of practicing Islam, no matter how adverse or horrific the circumstances are. We have something that nobody else in this prison had. We have Islam. These guys, they gonna be Crips until the situation hit the fan, then they probably ain't gonna want to be Crips no more. And these guys gonna be Bloods until the situation hit the fan, or somebody pull out a knife this long, he probably try to denounce being the Blood. But we the only ones in this prison system. We known to be the most loved, the most feared, and the most respected. Wallahi Adeem. The Muslims in prison are the most loved because people see this brotherhood we have is not forged. They see that we make excuses for some of the Muslims who actually may not practice Islam to the best of their ability. But they know if anything go down, you know, we coming together.
They're
the
loyal.
most negligent of us, from the most, mushtahid, is going down. Fear because they know we embrace death if that's what Allah decreed for us. They know that. In this environment, you have to be that way because everybody in here willing to take a life, but not everybody in here willing to die. So that's something any man would fear. You understand?
It's so beautiful what you're saying.
And we respect it because we just. People used to come to us to mediate between non-Muslims. You know what I'm saying? So that the whole prison don't get destroyed. It might be a race riot or something. We be the ones facilitating all of that. And everybody go their way in peace. Could you imagine?
I'm trying to understand. Your life is a roller coaster of.
It was.
It's two extremes.
It's still happening.
Two extremes, brother. Two extremes.
Yeah.
You chose the name Amir, and today you're in Dubai. Amir Muhdith.
Muhadith. Yeah.
There's
the brother that gave me that name.
Yeah.
He actually used to do security for Diddy. He was a Muslim brother named Mujahid.
Oh.
Yeah. He actually left me a message the other day. When I became Muslim, he just wept. Because he knew. He said, yo, you always was your own guy. He said, you the only one around this man that do what you do. He said, don't let nobody give you a name. Let me give you a name. I said, all right, cool. Because I definitely don't want to be a Muslim named Loon.
Yeah.
And I said, don't give me none of Allah's names because I don't feel like I can live up to it. Because I know a brother named Abdul Rahman ain't got no rahmah. I don't want to be that. I want something a little bit more easy. So he came back like a week later. He said, Amir. I said, what does Amir mean? He said, it means prince and it means leader. He said, you always was a leader.
MashaAllah.
I said, MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. I'm looking at it like, alhamdulillah. I said, but the Muslims be having long names. You got to give me, he said, all right, give me another week. I said, man, it take a week every time to get a name. So he come back with Junaid. I said, what is Junaid? He said, it's a small soldier with the heart of an army. He threw a little cap on it too.
Yeah.
But Junaid is just, Jundi. So I said, okay, mashallah, that sounds big. A small warrior with the heart of an army. I said, how you gotta bring it home now? Because I know the Muslims have
three.
Yeah.
3 names.
So me trying to run away from a name that might be difficult for me to live up to, he comes up with Muhadith. So at the time, I didn't know that there's 2 meanings. A muhaddith could be someone who interprets, and a muhaddith is a scholar in hadith. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm plagued with,
But you're forced to do it now. It's in your name. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah, that's what happened too. Because immediately, I remember the first scholar I ever met was Sheikh Abdul Razak of Badr. And his advice to me was memorize 40 hadith.
And you did.
I did in English. And then, I
need to memorize them, interpret them, understand them more than just interpret them.
That's what it was. See, not to digress, but people used to ask me, like, the whole time you was in there, did you memorize the whole Quran? Did you do this? Did you do that? The thing was, I studied the religion for my own benefit. And I wasn't allowed to be selfish enough to take the time to invest in, doing the hifz or, because I had to deal with real-time situations in the prison.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say a brother comes up, yo, Amir, the brother ain't come to Jumu'ah like 3 times. He a kafir, right? I'm like, what?
No.
Astaghfirullah, you know what I'm saying? But this is where my studies led me. My study, I got to put out fires.
So you
I wish I could go hide in the corner and just be selfish and just
do it yourself.
But I'm got put in a position to be the imam. So now I'm gradually putting out fires. You know what I'm saying? If you think about it, and I would never try to align myself with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this is what his situation was, dealing with the companions. Some of them were Bedouins. Some of them were, ignorant to certain things. And he would advise and admonish and so on and so forth so that their hearts would draw closer to the truth. So now I'm in a similar situation where you ready to go spill this man blood because you think that
He's
he,
a kafir
yeah,
just because he didn't come to trial. But this was your mission. This was your mission, Amir. Most
alhamdulillah,
probably, and we believe in science and how God guide us and the
absolutely.
plan He has for us. I want to, before we end this, I want to talk about you today. I want to
Mhm.
talk about what are you doing in Dubai, other than just pursuing Islam and experiencing that. And I really can't think what the future holds for you because, mashallah, yani you went from a bad boy to an Amir today, and you are leading. You led in prison, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
It's yani. I want to talk about this, but I want to say how I felt when I met you.
Mhm.
You've been in the worst places that anyone can be and be corrupted and corrupt others or hurt others. You were in Harlem, you were in Los Angeles, you were in the industry in the worst part of it, the worst times of it, when it was violent, when it was connected to any sort of illegal stuff. And you had the chance for fame, power, and selling your soul. I mean, if that's the case, Hollywood, but and be recognized and as one of the best rappers of that time. But you chose to let everything go and chose a humble path. You chose Islam, and you also were in prison and also in a really corrupted environment. You were injusticed, and still you chose to preach and survived all this injustice, all the things that could happen to you in prison, and stuck to your ideology,
Yeah.
your new faith.
Yeah.
And this by itself is, I cannot imagine it. I cannot put it in words. And mashallah alaik. I want to know today, what are you doing as a career wise? Are you still rapping?
No.
And Nasheed?
No. So listen, just to expound off what you said, and I want to say this because I think is necessary to say that this entire ummah, no matter where we are in the world, we're all being tested. We're all being tested. We're all being put to trial.
Yeah.
Because Allah loves the believers. And Allah never forsakes the believers. And this is a reminder for myself, first and foremost, and every Muslim that hears this. Doesn't matter what adversity reaches you. The only way to navigate through it is to hold firm to the religion. And if you look at us as a whole, even though, as an ummah, we may be weakened, but the reality of it is we're still holding on to what we know to be good. And that's what Allah conveyed to his messenger, and what his messenger conveyed to his companions. And to this day, we hold firm to that understanding because we know in our hearts is the only solution. There is no alternative. So I say that to say, may Allah make us better than we see ourselves, make us better than the world sees us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in everything that's pleasing to him and protect us from everything that earns his anger, inshallah. So now, I currently have several businesses that, by Allah's permission, hopefully will be successful, because they're all businesses that conform with sustainability, conform with, socioeconomic empowerment, and they're also something that I hold very dear in my heart and I'm passionate about. So first and foremost is Paid Meals. Paid Meals is a mobile application that enables contributors to purchase meals for people in need through participating vendors. So this is an ecosystem that we created to impact food insecurity. So for the humanitarian side of myself, the philanthropist side of myself, this mobile app aligns with that. So it's an extension of who I am. Second, I'm partners in a company called Agrovesta. Now we have the ability to convert plastic and rubber into crude oil, petroleum, and diesel fuel. This is a UAE-based company. Our factory is here in Dubai. Our site is in Sharjah, where we demonstrate for anyone who's interested in seeing renewable energy in
You're
real
building the
time.
future renewable energy
Yes,
for sustainable.
yes. It's a microwave system called, pyrolysis. It was invented by, a Russian scientist. And the reason why this is also dear to me is because, as humanity, we've survived so many wars and discrepancies about something that Allah has given, from His fadl, to numerous countries around the world to be able to produce something out of the ground, you know what I'm saying, that cultivates nations. So to be able to find that you're able to literally, for the sake of using words, turn trash into cash.
Yes.
You understand?
And being sustainable and helping the world also.
And helping the world, I'm working on an animated series. It's called the Amir of Harlem.
Nice.
This is going to be probably something that I'll find a lot of pleasure in because it enables me to have a voice.
Gets you back to the film industry, to George.
Pretty much. But it's all Sharia compliance. When you see the characters and everything, all of the short stories and everything, it's like, it's so much of an extension of the dawah that I used to, implement. But now I have a vehicle through animation, and I'm targeting pretty much the Muslim youth.
Gen Zs.
Yeah. So it's really not, the younger kids, they'll be fascinated by the visuals. But what actually transpires through the stories, the reminders, and all of the things that, I've chosen to articulate through animation, I think that it's going to be something that's going to be really impactful. I'm also a channel partner in Mustard City Free Zone. So I have a consultancy called Flexi Consultancy, where I actually help businesses, mainly people who are coming into the UAE, who want to get trade licenses, who want to get visas and the likes, and start their entrepreneurial journey here in the UAE. I went from referring others to saying, you know what, I might as well just, exactly, because not only do I want to see people get help, I know if I do it, it'll get done right. And that's kind of my mentality, because, I'm always been fearful about, referring things or, even though we live in such a beautiful country where most people who say they are who they are, they are who they are.
Exactly.
And that's a beautiful thing. Because coming from a superficial industry that I used to be in, everything is smoke and mirrors. Everything is a facade. Everything is just show. So when you come to a country where
everything is actually true.
It's true. And then the network, and there's no gatekeepers. Like if I can't do, X, Y, Z, but why would I impede you from meeting a guy that does it? Yeah. That's the beauty of the UAE. No one will, no one will obstruct you from making the connection with someone else that can actually help you on your entrepreneur journey. And this is why I've been pretty quiet, because it's like, I'm so grateful, to be in a place where
I think you found yourself here.
Exactly. Yeah. This is home. I made Hijra here. You know what I'm saying? I uprooted my whole family and came here. They say when you see smoke, there's fire. I saw smoke and I got out of there because I don't want to see the fire.
I'm so honored, Amir, to have you today on the podcast. But I want to say something too. I think your journey is still very far ahead. You have a lot of things to accomplish. And
that was a short list.
Short list
of things that I got going on. I have 100%. A book.
I think
documentary.
You were chosen. You were chosen.
And working.
Thank you.